Hey, so are you wondering the difference between anxiety and fear? So maybe you're performing a task and it's extremely uncomfortable. It's extremely stressful. And you're wondering, is this anxiety? Is this fear? What is this feeling? What is this discomfort? So if that's something you're experiencing, you're in the right hands because I'm going to explain the key differences between the two, which is extremely important when you're pursuing your goals and ultimately to reach your full potential. Okay, so let's go. Let's get into this right now. All right, so if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Rubin and I help individuals eliminate their anxiety attacks. And let's start off the discussion today. Let's start off with fear, because people use fear, anxiety, nervousness. They use all of these labels interchangeably. We want to make some key distinctions here. So fear is an emotion. It's a feeling. It's an anticipation or a concern about the future or a future outcome. Okay, so let's say you have a presentation to do at work. You know, that could be you have a fear of this presentation happening in the future. You get nervous, you start to worry, you know, maybe doubt yourself. That is fear. And so we're going to take it over to the whiteboard, and this is extremely important. This is one of the biggest mistakes that I see people make. What people think that they fear and what they actually fear are oftentimes two different things. And so let's go back to the presentation example. Let's say you got this presentation coming up, extremely stressed about it, extremely anxious about it, okay? So we have two different scenarios here, and we're gonna run through both. Now, the top scenario, you feel fearful. You have a fear, you have a concern about the future, about this presentation. So if I ask you the question, what is your fear? What is your concern? You know, most of the time it's going to be, I'm going to mess it up. Okay? I'm going to mess it up. And then the next question you want to ask yourself is, and then what would happen? Okay, so you mess it up, and then what would happen? Okay? So oftentimes it could be, well, I'm going to look stupid. Okay? You're going to look stupid, and then what would happen? People are going to laugh at me. Okay? So here's what most people think that they fear. Remember, what they think they fear and what they actually fear. So let's say here's the event, you give the presentation, you mess it up, people laugh at you, you know, it's a bit humiliating, okay? So that's the event, okay? But what you actually fear is the emotions that take place after the fact. So you fear giving the speech because you're going to mess it up. And then what would happen if you mess it up? Well, people would laugh at me, okay? And then what would happen, right? I would feel embarrassed. If people were laughing in my face, I would feel embarrassed. I feel ashamed of myself. You know, it would be so painful, humiliating. That's the emotion that would be a consequence of you messing it up and people laughing at you, okay? So what you're actually fearing is the emotional pain that would set off, that will come flooding you after if you did mess up the speech and people were laughing at you. So it's not that you fear, let's say you're on a boat, you don't fear falling off the boat, right? Making the mistake and falling off the boat. You fear the drowning experience. You fear being flooded with water in your lungs, water, you can't breathe, you're trying to swim. That's what you actually fear, is the distress, the pain. This is what you're actually fearing. And depending how much you feel, for example, this could be, it doesn't have to be shame. This is just an example, right? You could feel, you know, rejected, unworthy, unlovable, right? Right now we're just dealing with shame as an example here, okay? Now, this, depending on the level to which you feel this, I'll give you an example. Somebody could go make a speech, make a mistake, laugh it off, they don't care, right? But if there's all of this anticipation, you're going to be embarrassed and humiliated, that tells me, and it should tell you as well, obviously, that the level to which you feel this shame is extremely high, very significant for you. just the level of this, that if something goes wrong, you're gonna feel extremely uncomfortable after, humiliated, maybe depressed. This is gonna come in and just completely overwhelm you. And so let's talk about anxiety. There's a very important distinction here. Anxiety is a response, you have this fear. Anxiety is a response to the fear. It's a body activation, so physical symptoms, high heart rate, breathlessness, these physical symptoms, ruminating thoughts on worst case scenario. That is anxiety. And you may be asking, well, what's the point, right? Why do you have anxiety? Why is the anxiety there? Well, the reason is because if you have this high level of fear, okay? High level of fear that you're gonna be humiliated, and once you do that, you're gonna be flooded. Just overwhelming shame's gonna come flooding in as a result. And so now the question you wanna ask yourself is, when you're anxious or when you have anxiety, how do you behave? How does the anxiety make you behave? And the answer is, it makes you avoid situations, it makes you avoid events, it makes you avoid taking action. That's what anxiety does. When you get the physical symptoms, when you get the ruminating worst case scenario thoughts, you're gonna avoid the situation. So for example, if you are in a conversation, you're extremely nervous, you have social anxiety, what do? You avoid, you break eye contact, you withdraw your energy. And so going back to this example here, if you get too anxious, what you will do, you won't even go this way to the event, is you'll get anxious and maybe you make an excuse. Maybe you call in sick, right? You just avoid the event altogether. Sometimes maybe you push through it. You try to force yourself into it. And then during the event, anxiety comes and floods you with the physical symptoms. Like this used to happen to me. My mind would go blank, my rapid heart rate, trying to speak in front of people. So anxiety could block you further in the process as well. But overall, you have to understand that anxiety is there to make you avoid the outcome that you fear. Okay? So anxiety makes you behave, remember, in that way so that you never remember, it's not this which you fear, it's the emotional pain that you fear. So that's the purpose of the anxiety, breaking you off and coming down this way and avoiding what you have to do. That's the purpose of the anxiety, is to keep you safe. So going back to the boating example, if you really fear falling off the boat into the ocean, what's anxiety gonna do? You get anxious, you stay away from the edge. I'm not going anywhere near that edge. So do you see the purpose of the anxiety? So let's drill into that a little bit. Somebody who's a strong swimmer is not gonna have that anxiety. That anxiety is not gonna take them away from the edge. They're gonna go stand by the edge of the boat comfortably, okay? And for you, remember, the thing that you're at risk for, it's not the event, it's what you're gonna feel after the fact. This is what you're at risk for. This is the driver of everything. This is the driver of your anxiety. Because think about it this way, if you want to give that presentation, and let's say you give the presentation and you do what I did. Mind goes blank, physical symptoms, rapid heart rate, can't breathe, stuttering, voice shaking, and you get absolutely humiliated. Because this is so high, the level of shame is so high, what happens to this, instead of driving this way to being able to take action, do the event, it's gonna actually drive this way now. Because this is so high, it's gonna drive you this way. To the point where you only avoid things. So next time, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna avoid any opportunity to do presentations or public speaking. I'm gonna start looking for jobs where I don't have to do it, because this is so high. I'm gonna completely avoid that altogether. Now, what you don't wanna do is just accept that avoidant behavior. Why? Because This first path is towards your goals, right? You have to be able to connect with people. You have to be able to, if you want to be in a leadership position or something like that, you have to do those presentations. You have to speak in front of people. You have to be in groups. You have to be a leader. That your goals are down this path. If you start avoiding things, right? If you start avoiding things, then you go down towards stagnation. This is when you feel stagnant, you feel stuck, you're not improving, you're doing this job that you don't even want to do, okay? So you do not want to get comfortable with a system that drives towards avoidance and to stagnation, depression, apathy, feeling hopeless. You do not want to go down this path. So you might be saying, hey, Rubin, I try to go after things, but my anxiety literally blocks me. What are you supposed to do if your mind's going blank, you're having all these symptoms, panic attacks, and you literally can't go after your goals? Which I understand, right? So what you want to do is you want to decrease this. You want to decrease your level of shame. You want to decrease your level of emotional pain. Because remember, this is actually what you fear, okay? So going back to the boating example, let's say you fall overboard, but you know you can swim, right? You decrease the level of flooding, the level of overwhelm, okay? Just like if you were to give the presentation, maybe you make a mistake, you mess it up a little bit, but you decrease the level of shame you feel after, how flawed you feel after the fact. Remember, because when you decrease this emotional pain, this emotional overwhelm, the less anxiety needs to make you avoid these things. Remember, the whole purpose of the anxiety is to make you avoid that which you fear. But remember, you don't actually fear this. You fear this. You actually fear the emotional pain. Okay? So when you drop the level of this, the anxiety goes down. The purpose of anxiety is no longer there, right? Because a lot of people, they think it's all about repetition, practice, face your fears over and over and over. And that's not the case. It's actually, you do want to face your fears. There's a fine balance here, but you also want to take care of yourself. If things don't go perfectly, you don't want to beat up on yourself. You don't want to call yourself flawed and defective. There's something wrong with you because it didn't go the way you wanted to. Okay, so decrease what you actually fear. Not what you think you fear, what you actually fear. Okay? Once you can decrease that, the fear will go down, but also the anxiety serves no purpose after that. The anxiety will go down as well. And if you need more support with that, follow me on Instagram. I post a ton of content I can't post on YouTube. Daily inspiration, tips, and just a ton of value on there that's gonna really support you along your way to being anxiety-free, to actually crushing your goals and going down this path here, right down to your goals and your full potential, okay? So I hope to see you on there. Let's connect. Thanks for watching. Also, if you found the video helpful, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. All right, see you later.